Welcome back to the Business of Government Hour. I'm Michael Keegan, your host, and our guest today is Mary Davie, Assistant Commissioner of the Office of Integrated Technology Services, ITS, in GSA's Federal Acquisition Service. Also joining us from IBM is Paul Kayada. So, Mary, I get to talk to all of my guests about the importance of collaboration and partnerships in achieving mission outcomes. How are you, in your role, using partnerships and leveraging collaboration to enhance your mission outcomes?
Everything we do is about supporting other federal agencies, period. Whether it's a contract, whether it's a managed service, whether it's access to people. So again, the shift really has been toward ensuring that everything we put in place is done in concert with agencies and industry. And that can be from having individual discussions with both agencies and industry. It can mean working groups, which we do a lot of these days with agencies on pretty much everything we're doing. A lot of working groups from the industry side. We use a lot of the nonprofit organizations that will give us white papers or shared interest groups specifically focused on a topic like we're doing with Network Services 2020, and just getting a broad perspective and an input to shape some of these things. We've done it on wireless. We did it with mobile platform that we put in place under digital government strategy. We're doing it now on Alliance. We're starting to plan the next generation of those contracts, both Alliant large and small businesses. And as I said, we're using the Interact platform to do that, and just being as forthcoming as we can about here's where we are, here's what we're looking for, we really need your input, and making sure everybody is aware of all of the input that we're having. We do industry days. We do, as I mentioned, a lot of training and outreach online. We utilize, as many resources as we can to make sure that whatever it is that gets put in place, whether it's a new GWAC or some very focused BPA like for cloud or a satellite program, that it's going to be done with those customers at the table telling us what's going to meet their needs. Because if it doesn't meet their needs, there's no reason GSA should, develop it. So that's hugely important and a big focus of ours.
You have noted that in order to save the government $2.1 billion in federal IT costs, I'm quoting you here, yes, all of us are going to have to rethink and reimagine how we do things together. So could you let us know how you're rethinking the way ITS does its business in order to serve its customers and meet the mission needs of today?
Yeah, so I touched on that a little bit earlier with the shift toward the customer focus in ITS and really around category management. What category management means to us in ITS is we've got, a group of folks that are telecommunications experts. We are looking at building solutions around IT outsourcing, hardware, software, cybersecurity. And then we have programs like HSPD 12 or USA Access program, which is all about identity management. That means that the people in ITS, again, have to be knowledgeable and skilled in what to buy and how best to buy it, what the considerations are, who the market, who's playing in the market, and working with the agencies, again, to understand, what legacy environment are they dealing with and where are they trying to get to, and then helping them work through that process to structure a requirement, and at the end of the day, obviously, a solicitation to get support to do that. That, I think, could be really beneficial to understand, once we start collecting data around what people are buying, once we know and have real visibility into all of the different contract solutions that are out across government that would support a specific category. As I mentioned the server, desktop, laptop initiative working with OMB. That's just so important to understand what else is out there, what options do agencies have, and how might we direct an agency, whether it's a GSA solution or not, to another option. I think that that's going to be key to that savings number. If that's, what we're really after is being better stewards of taxpayer money, which I think we all are, then, there's a little bit of being contract agnostic in all of what we're doing in GSA. But it also gives us the visibility to help us make sure that the solutions that we are structuring are what people need and are going to help meet those needs. So that's one piece of it. Strategic sourcing is going to continue to be a big focus for GSA. And we had committed to OMB last year that we would do 10 new strategic sourcing initiatives across a variety of categories. So office supplies, package services. We're doing some for janitorial and sanitation services and supplies. We're going to do some more in the software world. And that, again, could mean what's GSA's role in helping agencies acquire software. We've had a lot of BPAs over the years for different kinds of software licenses. But again, with things like a shift to the cloud, what does that mean? Do we move to a consumption-based model for licensing, and what are all the various terms and conditions? So understanding all of that, having that knowledge, and then just sharing that with other agencies and helping them buy more effectively, that really is going to get at that savings number and has to. And then just internally, looking at things like most people look at. What inefficiencies do we have in our processes? What do we need to change? What system changes can we make? And are there things that we're doing today that we no longer need to be doing? Are there new opportunities maybe that we should be going after that we haven't yet? So I think all of that together really helps get at that savings number, which again is a big piece of what GSA wants to do.
Would you give us a sense of, for some of the key issues that you see that will affect acquisition and procurement offices government-wide over the next couple of years? More specifically, what are the key challenges in acquiring, and I think you mentioned this a little bit earlier, emerging technologies within the government?
Yeah, that really is something that we're thinking about. And I did talk about when we made the decision not to do a contract for mobile. Mm-hmm. It just didn't make sense. Mm-hmm. Based on what people's needs are, at least today, and what they're trying to buy, you can buy those things on existing contracts. And so we give folks a list of, here's the considerations, that you want to think about, and here's all the contracts that could help you meet those needs. But we also recognize that there are business model shifts with things like cloud. And we're looking at, for instance, on our Schedule 70 contract, would it make sense to put a special item number just for cloud product services and solutions and sort of help narrow down, of what they need to in their market research, what they would be looking at for cloud-based solutions? Are there changes we need to make to our GWACs? And I don't know what the answer to that is yet, but as all of these things come up, those are the things that we continue to look at. There's obviously a big focus on buying more sustainable products and services. So making sure that our contracts reflect the ability for people to get to those things. I talked about secure supply chain. That's also something that we're very focused on. Things, like moving into trusted internet, connections. We made that available on our networks contract and work with the carriers to make sure that they could support the requirements that were, part of that program. So it really, again, comes back to looking at that acquisition process that we use today. And because IT does evolve quickly and because things seem to becoming more and more complex, we've been saying that for years and it just continues to get more complex, that process has got to shift. We've got to figure out how, as I said, to buy more agile and flexible and maybe modular. The acquisition process today can support that, but it's how we're implementing different strategies to do that.
This has been a wonderful conversation, chock-filled with insights, but I'd like to get your advice, and it's for folks who are thinking about a career in public service. What advice would you give them?
Do it. Very simply, I never meant to come into the federal government. It wasn't a goal of mine that I'm going to be a federal employee. I had a really awesome opportunity as a very young person still in college to come work for GSA as a summer hire. And I had no idea what they did, who they were, what I was doing, but they offered me a position out of school, and I was smart enough to take it because I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, and I really didn't know what they did, but I thought they're nice people, and I'd like to come work for them. But what really made a difference to me was I worked for a set of people and a group of leaders that recognized the need to bring people up through an acquisition workforce, bring young people in, grow people, and from day one, they just included me in everything, mentored me. I became part of the team. They gave me increasing responsibility and accountability, but were there to support me and help me with whatever I needed. I was given all kinds of amazing projects to work on that were really diverse. I supported the Army. I supported, Environmental Protection Agency. I was with Energy. I was with Census. I was all over the place. And again, just learning as I went, those opportunities and probably the diversity of the work. I think you really have to figure out what resonates with you. Are you mission focused? Do you care about the environment? I think I can make a difference, and it's going to be really interesting work, and I get to work with a great group of people. In GSA, it really is the diversity of what we do, and every day is different, and every day there's a new challenge and a new opportunity. But I've just gotten to work with such an amazing group of people across government and industry that I have never looked back and feel incredibly lucky for what I get to do every day. So it's really just about your passion. And maybe you don't even know what that is. I certainly didn't in the beginning. And this work really seemed to be the kind of thing I wanted to do just because of, we get to be out and about and do all kinds of different things. So it's a lot of fun, and that's what people really need to think about.
Well, speaking about out and about, I want to thank you for coming in and hanging out with us today and talking with us. But more importantly, Paul and I would like to thank you for your dedicated service to the country.
Oh, well, thank you. I love what I do. And as I said, I'm really lucky to get to do it. So thanks for having me.
This has been the Business of Government Hour, featuring a conversation with Mary Davie, Assistant Commissioner, Office of Integrated Technology Services in GSA's Federal Acquisition Service. My co-host from IBM has been Paul Kayada. Be sure to join us next week for another informative, insightful, and in-depth conversation on improving government effectiveness. For the Business of Government Hour, I'm Michael Keegan, and thanks for joining us.
This has been the Business of Government Hour. Be sure to visit us on the web at businessofgovernment.org. There you can learn more about our programs and get a transcript of today's conversation. Until next week, it's businessofgovernment.org.